Imagine if S.Y. Agnon, the Nobel Prize-winning author known for his sweeping tales of Jewish life, were alive today to write a novel about immigrating to Israel in 2026. He would likely write about a character like Yonatan, a young man moving from New York, carrying generations of inherited grief and the expectation of a profound spiritual homecoming. At Ben Gurion Airport, the pale, flat glare of the terminal replaces the poetry of the history books. Yonatan moves through the clatter of rolling suitcases and past border officers who have already seen 1,000 arrivals today. Yonatan arrives with a mind full of sacred texts and pioneer stories. Because he expects the landscape to match the history books he studied, he is functionally illiterate to the physical reality of the country standing right in front of him. Outside the airport, the air smells of machine oil and sea salt. The Hebrew spoken on the streets is fast, impatient, and elbowing its way forward, while digital billboards flash security alerts overhead to an audience of distracted commuters. He has spent years studying the idea of this place, reading the language in quiet rooms abroad. Yet, in the oppressive heat of the city, he realizes he cannot actually read the living state. The land does not tell newcomers their souls will suddenly be healed. It receives people exactly as they are, mixed, exhausted, and carrying their own contradictions. To actually belong here, an immigrant has to stop forcing the country to resemble a beloved novel. They have to learn how to speak its actual, messy, and deeply demanding language. That education starts in the most mundane places. Yonatan spends his first days entirely absorbed by government waiting rooms, banking appointments, and a building committee manager named Malka, who treats dirt on the stairwell as a moral failing.
This circular logic loop is endless. You need an ID for a bank account, but can't get the ID without bank proof of residence. Navigating this requires hours collecting ink stamps like rare currency, stripping away philosophical ideals and forcing you onto the ground. You don't integrate into this society by sharing a grand ideology. You integrate by proving you can survive shared administrative inconveniences without giving up. Then, the emergency siren sounds. The ambient anxiety of the street instantly crystallizes into a routine drill, pulling neighbors down into a concrete shelter. Inside that bunker, no one is screaming or praying. Instead, the shirtless guy from the third floor is complaining about the water pressure, and Malka is aggressively defending the building's maintenance budget. The bickering about bicycle storage acts as a shield. By focusing on the leaky roof or the maintenance budget, while missiles are intercepted overhead, the residents pull the emergency back down to a scale they can actually manage. You cannot understand the people here until you see how they weave profound trauma seamlessly into their daily chores. Emergency is just another dialect they speak. Eventually, you realize the nation doesn't have a single, unified voice. It is split into distinct geographic tempos of soul. First, there is the grammar of Tel Aviv. It is coastal, secular, and improvisational. It's a city built for forgetting, focused entirely on forward motion, appetite, and survival. Then, a short train ride away, is the grammar of Jerusalem. It is inland, heavy with stone, and deeply demanding. Here, the air feels pressurized by history, prayer, and absolute judgment. The ultimate test for an immigrant is recognizing that the country is a constant, overlapping argument between these two ways of existing. To stay, you have to learn how to navigate both. Yonatan's deepest lesson comes when he takes an editing job with Amos Lev, an exhausted former public servant and intellectual who asks him to review translated policy papers. Amos redacts the corporate language, stripping away the sterile English to reveal the sharp, direct truth underneath. He turns supporting social resilience into a sentence about keeping people alive. Amos treats translation as a movement between different moral temperatures. Every word carries a specific weight, and his job is to ensure the English doesn't cool the hard reality of the original Hebrew. Every word chosen in this country arrives carrying the political and historical weather of its origin. You have to know the weather to write the sentence. By the end of his first week, Yonatan is still sitting in a half-unpacked apartment. The silence of the room is broken only by the hum of the refrigerator and the distant noise of a neighbor's television. He doesn't feel any closer to the profound sense of homecoming he expected. He has finally let go of the pioneer fantasy. Now he is simply a man who has begun to decipher the conflicting voices echoing through his neighborhood. Arrival is an ongoing process of translation. True belonging requires the surrender of our pure expectations so we can embrace the exhausting, contradictory reality of a place exactly as it is.